Last hope of the lightweight division is Arman Tsarukyan to beat Islam Makhachev. There is no one else in that division remaining after this that can beat Islam Makhachev. Be honest with yourself. Maybe Ilia Topuria if he moves up, but that's about it. After this fight, Islam Makhachev is either fighting Ilia Topuria for the lightweight championship or he has to move up and fight for the welterweight title. Because at this point, there is nothing left. Are we really going to be sitting there and thinking to ourselves, well, you know what? I think Justin Gaethje's leg kicks might be the big game changer and the kryptonite to Islam Makhachev. No, we're not going to be saying that. We know the weakness in Gaethje's game. We know his striking is... Listen, he's got good power in his hand, he's got good striking. He's got good striking. It's not to the point where he's just going to school Islam Makhachev. It's not going to be like Sean O'Malley against Chito Vera. It's not that level of striking. It's not that smooth. It's not that technical. It is very, very good. It is technical, I will give you that. It has some power behind it. But overall, there's nothing really. Why am I talking about Justin Gaethje? Anyway, Max Holloway, no, I don't think he can do it. The wrestling gap is too big. Arman Tsarukyan is honestly the last guy that can possibly beat Islam Makhachev, because before this, it was Volkanovski, it was Oliveira, both of them fell. Both of them fell to Islam Makhachev. The pressure that he puts on you, drops you, submits you. Arman Tsarukyan, if his gas tank can hold up, has a real good shot at beating Islam Makhachev. You know why? Because Volkanovski was able to stuff the takedowns, and guess what happened on the feet? He was able to go toe-to-toe with Islam Makhachev, arguably win the first fight, before taking the fight on short notice in the second time around and getting knocked out. Dustin Poirier, that is the fight that is the most intriguing here. Dustin Poirier went toe-to-toe with Islam Makhachev, was able to stuff the takedowns after the first round, and be able to piece up Islam in some of the rounds. Again, was losing other rounds. You can go either way with the striking between those two. But it was close to the point where it's like, well, if Dustin Poirier isn't worrying about the grappling, would his striking improve? Arman Tsarukyan is someone who can honestly have some incredibly insane scrambles in him that he can actually get out of these kind of situations. Now, someone like Khabib Nurmagomedov, who had incredible pressure, incredible power behind him, and the double legs and the power that he would just force his will on top of you, the scrambles weren't as effective because Khabib can just hold you down without having to you know, have to finesse you down. Islam Makhachev has more of a technique game with his takedowns. He is very powerful, he's very strong, but he's not Khabib in that dominating fashion. Now, if Arman Tsarukyan can mix in the scrambles and get up from a lot of these situations, I think he can survive. I mean, he survived on the ground with Charles Oliveira. And Charles Oliveira arguably has better jiu-jitsu on the ground than Islam Makhachev. Now, I'm not going to make any definitive comments about that. I think it's a possibility. I think Islam is also kind of underrated with his ground game when it comes to jiu-jitsu. I think he can finish a lot of guys with just submission or even ground and pound. If Arman Tsarukyan in those openings can use the scramble to get back on his feet or maybe threaten the scrambles, and then Islam Makhachev is using more energy than required for the wrestling, in later rounds he won't shoot. He has shown us that he won't shoot. He has shown us that his takedowns will be more sloppy later on. He's shown us that. He will panic takedown. Islam Makhachev will do that. Arman Tsarukyan has a good chance to not only just catch him, but just out-skill him, out-technique him. Be too good for him, honestly. That is a possibility that Arman Tsarukyan possesses in this fight. And I am going to be picking Arman Tsarukyan in this fight. The fight against Charles Oliveira really impressed me. In that fight, it was back and forth. And on the feet, Oliveira is quite dangerous. Arman went toe-to-toe with him. He went toe-to-toe with the guy despite having a reach disadvantage. He looked like the smaller guy of the two. But he's powerful. He looks strong. I think he has what it takes to beat Islam Makhachev. Now, if I was more conservative with my prediction, I would pick Islam Makhachev. He has proven himself too many times to me to just pick against him right now. But the last hope of the lightweight division is Arman Tsarukyan. If Islam Makhachev wins this fight, he will then tie Usman for the second longest win streak in UFC history. He will break the lightweight title defense record held by Khabib and a few other fighters. He will do all those things. But Arman Tsarukyan is the last challenge for Islam Makhachev, it feels like. Because after this, we have a lot of... Justin Gaethje's coming off one win. Let's give him a title shot. Oh, Max Holloway coming off a featherweight loss. Let's give him a title eliminator against Justin Gaethje again. Or Dustin Poirier. It's a lot of that. We don't have a natural number one contender after this. If Arman loses here, the rematch would be... there would be no rematch, actually. If Arman wins here, the rematch would be huge. But if he loses here, what's next for this division? Like, honestly, what can you possibly have in this division after this? Nothing. It has to be either Ilia Topuria or it has to be moved to the welterweight division. Now, I'm not just picking Arman because I'm like, oh my god, he's our last chance. Let me be real sentimental about it. I genuinely think the guy has a really good chance in their last fight that they had. Let me just bring that up. Arman Tsarukyan was going toe-to-toe with the scrambles and the grappling with Islam. He was narrowly losing the rounds, but up until the third round, it was a 50-50 fight. It was close to a 50-50 fight as you're going to get, where one guy is slightly winning. Arman has proven on short notice as a 22-year-old child, he was younger than me, that he can do this. Like, he can go to a high level. Now, here's a full training camp for Islam Makhachev. I really love the fact that he didn't just take a short notice, you know, like a 6-week training camp against Islam Makhachev after he got the winning with Charles Oliveira, like they were trying to make him do. I'm glad he's got a full training camp. This is a huge fight in the lightweight division. It's genuinely huge. The biggest one since Oliveira versus, oh no, the biggest one since Volk and Islam's first fight, because that was a big fight in my opinion. This one's a real threat to Islam Makhachev, and after this fight, if Islam Makhachev can get the win, are we looking at the greatest lightweight of all time? Only time will tell. We'll have to see the fight and how that goes. But there's a good argument after this fight. A 15-fight win streak, the resume is quite strong. We're looking at potentially the greatest lightweight of all time and potentially a top 10 fighter of all time after this. Don't listen to Lucas Tracy. He doesn't know anything about MMA. He only started watching in 2020. Just gonna sneak that in here. But anyway, Arman Tsarukyan. The striking is pretty good. They both have pretty good striking, I would say, but neither of them are really, you know... Like, Arman Tsarukyan had that insane KO against Beneil Dariush, which gives me a lot of confidence, to be honest. He got him out of there really quickly. Beneil Dariush was kind of flustered and going for a takedown out of nowhere, and that's what I mean. Later in the rounds, if Arman can make Islam use more energy than required with his scrambling, trying to get back up, he can catch Islam later on when he gets a little bit more sloppy. He gets a little bit more... You know, like a round starts, maybe 1-1 going to the third, and Islam's like, shit, okay, I gotta immediately go for a takedown. He's shown us to do that in the Volkanovski fight in the 4th round. He did the exact same thing, immediately took his back, didn't do anything after that, just held him down, because he knew he was in trouble. Then in the 5th round, he gets dropped. He, I don't think, can just manhandle Arman Tsarukyan. He hasn't shown that in his recent fights. He hasn't just taken down Oliveira, Volkanovski again, or Dustin Poirier. And Dustin Poirier is someone that you would think he could do that against. He did submit him in the 5th round. I'll give him all the credit in the world. But Arman can beat this version of Dustin Poirier, in my opinion. I think he would beat him. I think he would use his wrestling. I think Arman's got some underrated striking, to be honest. And so does Islam. But in a game of inches, I would go with the physical advantages, if I'm being honest with you. I would go with Islam in this case. But I do think sometimes when your gut just has that feeling inside of it where it's so even, and then you're thinking, well, I would give it to Islam, but in this one case, I'm going to give it to Arman. I think he showed some great submission defense against Charles Oliveira. I think he did a great job in that fight. Charles Oliveira is more of a pressure fighter than Islam is. Islam is more technical, I suppose, in some ways than Charles is. Charles will just march forward and try to hunt you down like a Terminator. Arman survived that. He went toe-to-toe with him, throwing leg kicks. He faced the fire of Charles Oliveira and he came out unscathed. He will take on the Dagestani Eagle and clip his wings. That was kind of badass, right? Anyway, the bet is Arman Tsarukyan. I have $100 in bonus bet. I just put it on Arman. I think he can get it done. I think this is the one to do it. Like, I picked Volkanovski to beat I didn't pick Charles to beat Islam in their first fight. I didn't do that. I picked Volkanovski to beat Islam in the first fight. Arguably won. In the second fight, I picked Islam. The third, the Poirier fight, I picked Islam. I'm going to pick Arman here. I do think Arman's got the dog in him. He's a young guy as well. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, I want to see legacy happen. I want to see the greatest lightweight of all time. I want to see someone enter the GOAT conversation. There's not that many people in the GOAT conversation. If you have a brain. If you have a Lucas Tracy kind of mentality, then obviously Murad's in there, Volkanovski's in there, like, and anyone's in there that gets 2 or 3 wins in the UFC, in the top 5 level. That's Lucas Tracy's mentality. And a lot of other YouTube MMA. They're all dumb. The GOAT debate consists of Mighty Mouse, Jose Aldo, Fedor Emelianenko, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, and John Jones if you want to include him and not penalize him for the steroids. That's it. That's the GOAT debate. That's 6 people. It's a fairly locked down debate. It's pretty hard to crack that list. Arman's a young dude. If he can beat Islam, beat him in a rematch. He's got a great resume already. Think about it, right? I mean, sure, he has a loss to Gamrot. I won't take that away. You know, he obviously lost to Gamrot. In a close fight, if you thought he won, that's fine. I thought Gamrot actually did win that fight. And that's the concern with Arman. Like, in later rounds, is his cardio tested enough? It's tough. It's very tough. But I think Gamrot has better scrambles than Islam anyway, in my opinion. And I think Gamrot's cardio is kind of underrated as well, if I'm being completely honest with you. But anyway, Arman is the pick. Hopefully his cardio can hold up. Islam's cardio hasn't shown to be the most crazily impressive either. But yeah, the pick will be Arman. And he is young, like I was saying. He can enter that GOAT debate. I mean, he's got a win over Dariush. After Dariush was coming off a loss to Oliveira. So, you know, still a good win. A great win, actually. Dariush was on a massive win streak before the Oliveira loss. It was still a good win to have on your resume at the time that it happened. And then he goes on to beat Charles Oliveira. Obviously a great win. He's only lost in the last like 10 fights or 12 fights or whatever the hell it was. 11 fights. Was to Islam. And then he beat Charles Oliveira. I'm telling you guys, like, he can get up there in the all-time rankings if he beats Islam and then beats him in a rematch. You never know with these fights. And the lightweight division's right there for the pickings. I think Arman Tsarukyan gets it done. Like, subscribe, and share this video. Don't share this video. Click the notification bell. Leave a comment about what you think. The pick's going to be Arman. A lot of people are going to disagree with this. They're going to say, oh, Islam easy peasy, Japanesey. The Poirier fight was a bit of an eye-opener of what happens when Islam can't get the takedowns. On the feet, it was close, and then Islam's threat of the takedowns was keeping Poirier honest. I think Arman might shoot on Islam. That's a thought. That's a worry for your thoughts. I think Arman might actually shoot on Islam in the later rounds. Let's see how that goes. Because Volkanovski didn't do it. Charles Oliveira didn't really do it. I think Arman might do it. He's confident enough in his scramble. I think he might shoot a takedown on Islam. We'll see. 193 subscribers. What is happening? Subscribe to this video. Subscribe to this channel. Get me to 200. We're nearly there. May as well subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. And just other random stuff that I post based on MMA and UFC mostly. And I shoot on the PFL sometimes. Anyway, go for it. See you next time.